Alright, so today what I'm going to show you is what's in my everyday tech bag. Okay, so the bag that I'm using is the Filson Dryden bag that's like otter green. The way that I basically chose this bag is that I wrote down some of the all the requirements that I was looking for in a bag, like what am I actually going to fit into this bag, and then I use that list to figure out what type of bag I want and how many pockets I need and what type of pockets I need and what I need them for. I generally have like two different versions of the bag that I'll take with me. That's not like two physically different versions, but it's two versions of how I pack this bag. So the first version is like the light version where I'm just like going somewhere over the day and I don't need specific items. And the second version is like the heavy version where I bring all the really heavy stuff that I need for like a longer stay. If I'm going away for the weekend or something like that, then I need a lot more stuff. And so let's go through and just see kind of what that is. And I think the best comparison or the best example of that is what's in this pocket, which is the laptop. So the laptop is something that I usually bring with me. I've been bringing this with me everywhere I go right now. But I just got also the iPad Air. And since getting this, I'm thinking that I'll probably a lot of times just be able to bring this with me if I'm just going to take some notes or do some lighter type of work. Then I generally won't need a heavy 15-inch laptop. And so I can probably get away with just bringing the iPad Air. And so that's like, I won't generally have both the iPad Air and the Dell Xps 15. Either if I'm going for the light version, I'll bring the iPad Air, and if I'm going for doing more heavy type of work, then I'll actually bring my laptop with me. And so the laptop is a Dell XPS 15 and it's from the 2020 version. So this is just something where I'm running Ubuntu or Xubuntu Linux on this machine because it kind of, for me, it's just easier to work with Linux when I'm doing programming type stuff. And that's generally what I will do when I bring this laptop with me. I also have, it's a dual boot, so I can boot into Windows if I want to. And that's only like the sole purpose of having Windows on this machine at all is just so that I can do some editing if I need to do like video editing or photo editing. That's the machine that I generally try to bring with me, but it is super heavy, and that's kind of one of the reasons why the bag itself just becomes super heavy, because this takes up, like, it's so heavy. That's the first item or items in my bag. Generally it's going to be the laptop, but for the future I think at some points it's going to be just the iPad Air as well. And that's essentially all that we have in this pocket. I will also have the charger for both of those things. If it's more than one day, then I'll have the chargers with me. And the next pocket is this front pocket here, where I have a couple just like items that I sometimes need. So the first thing is like a Swarovski binoculars, so a pair of binoculars that I've basically just like recently gotten into some light bird watching, and for that I kind of need some sort of binoculars so that I can actually see the birds, because it's sometimes really difficult to actually see them. And so that's something that I have, and I've been using this a lot actually, so I'm really quite happy with this purchase, even though it's quite expensive. And I also have some sort of means of listening to music, and for me, I just like the Airpods. Don't ask me why I have this shitty rubber case on it. It's essentially like I was fooled in one of those like airport tech shops, and I saw this package, like this little box that looked like it was like matte black Airpods that they had. I bought it without actually looking at what it was, and I realized afterwards that okay, it's just this super shitty flimsy rubber case. you basically put your AirPods in. That just makes the AirPods a lot thicker. But I really like the AirPods. That's like my best tech purchase, I think, of 2018, whenever they got released. This is still the same pair that I bought then, and I'm super happy with them. And then I also have my own knife, which is like a knife that I made myself, and I just keep that with me because I think it's sometimes quite useful to have a little knife. It's gotten a little bit rusty now, I need to like sharpen it properly, but it's always really useful to have a knife with you, I think. And especially since sometimes like I go out in the woods and stuff and I go fishing or do whatever, I like to have this with me. And then we have this thing, which is just a fire steel that essentially, this is what it does. So it basically creates sparks. Hopefully I didn't ruin the table. But yeah, it creates sparks and it's a really great way to make a fire. So this is like the doomsday prepper in me. In case I want to make a fire, I can do that with this tool. And instead of like bringing a lighter with me, I like to have this. And I also bring this thing with me, which is like a little thing that you can use to remove keys from a keyboard. Yeah, I don't really know why I have this. I don't really use it, but I know where it is and I know that I have it here, so in case I need to remove a key or like switch some keys out, then I can use that. And lastly, in this pocket I have a USB-C cord that I can use for all of my tech stuff. I can charge using this cable. So in case I'm somewhere and I need to charge something and I haven't brought a charger with me, I always have this. And also for like porting different files from like my drones and stuff, I can use this cable for that. It's actually really useful. But yeah, so that's something that I bring with me. Next we have this front pocket here where I have two things. Okay, so I have this charging device, which is for the Canon, for my cameras essentially. So if I bring a camera with me, then I always have a charger in my backpack. And then I also have a dongle here that we can use for just like, basically we have all of the USB, regular USB ports, HDMI port, SD port, USB-C, and then we also have an internet port. So that's a really useful thing. Like if you want to have really fast, like faster internet, you can just plug in a cable here. This is super useful. And then in the side pocket here, we have my water bottle. And this is just something like, of course you need a water bottle, and I never used to use these sort of water bottles. When I went to Australia last year around this time, it was super hot, and one of the really good purchases that we did was we bought flasks like this or bottles like this that are like almost like thermoses, so they keep the cool of the water really long. So this water bottle is a really good purchase that I use every single day. And then lastly, we have the top pocket here. The first thing that we find is the Gopro Case. This is something that I bring with me sometimes just in case, because if I don't want to bring the big cameras with me, then bringing this GoPro case thing or the GoPro itself with me is a really good thing, because this whole package is pretty small. Like it's smaller than my actual like big cameras. And so if I know that I probably won't film anything, but I might film something, then I'll bring this with me just to have something just in case that's a little bit better quality and that I can do a little bit more stuff with than my regular just phone camera. So that's something that I have with me usually in the backpack as a like just in case. And that's something that I just recently bought as well. Okay, almost the final item is a jacket, and this is something that I think everyone should have in a backpack. It's basically just a rainproof jacket that you can put into the backpack. That's really like, I can roll this up and it becomes quite small, so it doesn't take up too much space in the actual backpack. And that means that especially during like summer when you can go outside and in just like what I'm wearing right now, it's really useful to just have a raincoat with you in case of rain. And then the absolute final item is a Kindle. And this is just something that I use to read on, and I think it's super useful. I bought it this summer and it's actually led me to read a lot more books. And that's also one of my favorite purchases probably of this year at least, because I've really been using this a lot, and it's a super simple thing. It's super old as well. Like Kindle's been around for a long time, but It's something that I haven't really thought that I really should buy because I've always liked the feel of regular books. But with this, it's just so much easier to read a book and so much easier to like take notes in books, and just everything about it feels a lot simpler than actual books. So I've really enjoyed it, especially if I'm going on a trip somewhere and I don't want to bring a stack of books with me because books just take up a lot of space and it's really heavy. So this thing is like a ton of books and it's not heavy at all. Alright, so that's essentially my everyday carry. I don't know if I went through that super fast, but or if it didn't make too much sense, but that's kind of the stuff that I generally bring with me on every day, essentially, when I go somewhere. So I hope this was somewhat interesting to watch, and I will also leave links to all the stuff that I've mentioned in this video in the description in case you want to check some of the stuff out yourself. That's it for this one. I hope I'll see you in the next one tomorrow.